Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to the Brighton Hove Hope Exchange. My name is Adam, and I'm from Ambigo. And so what we do is we put on events that bring people together to exchange support for their personal goals, ideas, and ambitions. So tonight we're going to be hearing from several people who want to share with you an idea that they have or something that means something to them. And what we're going to be doing is saying to you out there, please contribute with any kind of support you can give. If you've got any contacts or advice or information that you can offer that person, then we want to hear from you. And this event is not just me. Over in 5 Ways in Brighton, we've got Andy, who's here to explain what he's going to be doing this evening.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. And it's a Friday bank holiday, so it's really, really lovely to see you. I hope you've had a chance to enjoy some of the sunshine. As Adam has said, we're here collecting, hopefully, your ambition, and we're going to see if we can find support for it. Now, my role is to attend this black wall. This is a wall of ambitions. We've been doing this for about 3 years or so. We normally go out and hang out on street corners. Don't tell my parole officer. Bad joke. I wish I hadn't said that. Anyway, so the idea is that people will write their ambitions down on what we have, which we call an ambition calling card. And they write them down and we put them on this wall for other people to peruse, to browse, to have a little look-see and maybe get inspired. Of course, you know, it's nice to be nosy. It's nice to know what people are into, but that inspiration can be a lot of fun. And then we invite people to grab a Post-it note and to put a comment up there. Maybe some words of encouragement, maybe some tips, some advice, maybe something you know that maybe that ambitioneer, as we like to call them, hasn't thought of. Maybe some contacts, someone who can actually genuinely help. I know someone who could do that, and so on. Those are brilliant. Those are gold dust. And of course, if you'd like to join in, do so, because a lot of people quite happily do these things together. It's a great thing to do. Now, unfortunately, we're in the midst of lockdown. We can't get out there. We can't stand on street corners. We can't give you cupcakes from the local co-op and stuff like that, which we do enjoy doing. Thanks, co-op. What we can do instead is stand here, me, Muggins, with my collection of lovely felt tip pens, as an array of blank ambition calling cards, a little tablet full of blank Post-it notes, and it's going to be my joy to scribble in my bestest handwriting your ambition, what might be useful, what sort of things might help, and then to put it prominently on this wall of ambitions and call for all the other people who are viewing now on our live show, or quite possibly on the repeat, because this stays available for the rest of the week. Actually, it just stays available, and we'll keep gathering those in. And our pledge to you, if you entrust us with one of your ambitions, is we'll get any comments, any useful stuff through to you, and hopefully you might make a few new friends in the process. Adam, that's what I'm here for. Have I missed anything, do you think?
Not at all. So let's go to the other person we want to bring in right now.
Oh,
and
yes.
That is the person who is the founder of the organization that we're partnering with tonight, and they are called BelongCon. Here's Alice.
Yeah.
Hey, Alice.
Hi guys.
Hey,
Thanks
Alice.
so much for doing this with us. We're really grateful that you wanted to partner with us for this evening's event. So you've been corralling some people to get involved, to share their goals, ideas, and ambitions. So first of all, can you just tell us a bit about what BelongCon does?
So BelongCon is short for the Belong Conversation, and it started, oh my goodness, 3 years ago now, as a series of events in Brighton. And the idea behind it was to allow a platform for people to come and share their stories of how they found their belonging, their purpose, their passion, their community. Because, you know, I've, like a lot of people, I've kind of struggled a lot with my mental health over the years. And the thing that helped me more than anything else was hearing other people's stories, people who've gone through the same experience that I have, to feel like I really belonged and that I wasn't an outsider and that there was nothing weird about me. And that's what I wanted to create with BelongCon, was a platform for other people to access those stories. So now we're not just events, we have a podcast, we have a blog, and all of those spaces, whether physical or virtual, are dedicated to sharing people's stories of belonging.
Wonderful. And just give us a date for the diary coming up, because you've got something big coming up very soon, right?
Yes. So like a lot of other organizations, we had to cancel our physical events that we had planned. And we hosted our first online Belong conversation last month, and it was great. And we have our next online event coming up on Tuesday at 7 p.m. So that's the 12th of May at 7 p.m. And if you want to come along and register, attendance is donation based. Everything's going to help keep BelongCon running. We've got 3 incredible coaches who are just going to come online, join me, be in the conversation to support you and offer advice for whatever you feel like you're dealing with right now that you could use some support with, or a friendly ear with.
Absolutely wonderful.
Can I say a word?
Yeah.
Which is to say, I was really, really lucky to attend that BelongCon meeting last month. And it was a joy. It's full of wisdom, authenticity, and a connection. So I can really understand, Alice, what you're talking about. And it was lovely to be in that room with so many people and be so genuine at this sort of slightly weird time. So I commend it. Personal commendation there. Am I allowed to do those?
Thank you so much. And I'm always so blown away by the openness by which people share, and the vulnerability that comes through with people who speak at our events, write for us, come on the podcast. And that's what really makes it special, is people's willingness to be vulnerable.
And we're going to be hearing more of that this evening as well, with people courageously stepping up and sharing important things to them that they might not have ever shared before. And in fact, I know that's the case with 1 or 2 of the people we'll be having on. So thank you very much, Alice. We're going to come back to you, if that's okay, after some of the participants have spoken. So how about we actually go to the first one? And waiting in the wings is somebody called Helen, who I'm going to bring in now to share her goal, idea, or ambition. Hi, Helen.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, actually. I'm pretty much enjoying the weather and a pop-up bar on my pavement, because that's as far as you can go these days.
A pop-up bar? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so basically take a couple of chairs, sit on the pavement. You actually see people go by. You actually get a bit of human contact. It's quite fun, actually.
Oh, that's really nice. I can see the sun beaming through your window onto your face as well, brightening up our evening. So thanks for that. Okay, Helen, tell us about whatever your goal, idea, or ambition is.
Yeah, so I was thinking, because you said lots of different ideas, and one of them was like, if you wanted to write a book, and I thought, you know what, I always thought that was something that was completely out of my reach, because I'm quite badly dyslexic, and so I have problems with structure as well as a whole range of typos and spellings problems I could do. So it would be really exciting and fun to be able to actually do that. Yeah.
Okay, and what do you want to write about?
So there's a couple of different things. So there's one is about resilience and how we can do that, and it seems rather apt right now, because it's pretty hard to, there's some good days and there's some bad days, but there's lots of things that I've learned over the years through various different things that you can actually put together that could help you. So there's things that are up regulating, down regulating, things that, like, so some things you might do naturally. So for example, something soothing is like a hot drink, for example, a nice weighted blanket. Music is uplifting and that sort of thing. So something that would be quite practical as to different things you could do, and explaining a little bit of the science behind it, because I'm a clinician by background. So like why our brain would respond to that when we are pre-fight and flight and all that. So it's kind of around that sort of thing. And the other thing, it would be for other parents and particularly adoptive parents, but really other parents in general about having a trauma-informed approach. So there's something called neurosequential learning, which you can do, and the thing is, it's fantastically technical, and I want to make these sort of things a bit more accessible and mainstream, really.
Okay, well, let's give that a go now, because I'm fascinated, because I love neuroscience. So in terms of what you're saying about that moment before fight or flight, can you explain to us in layman's terms about what that is that you mean?
Yeah, we have something called the primal brain, and if you imagine like that's kind of your brain, and then on top of that is your higher functioning brain. So at times of trauma, or when you're feeling triggered, this kind of just goes up like that, and your primal brain will kick in. And that's, that fight, flight, or freeze that all of us like when we go like a rocket, or we implode, or we just do this. That happens at that point. That's the primal, and it's really hard. It's an instinct level. It helped us run away from dinosaurs and different things like that. But it's not always helpful. I mean, and it's going to be triggered, particularly now in a global pandemic. Sometimes you're already at a certain level of stress already. So somebody who, for example, in the street, if somebody knocks into you these days, you'd probably have a panic attack. Whereas this happened like 2 months ago, you'd be like, oh, that's not very nice, or you might joke it off. But we're just in this heightened state. So it's about, so that's the kind of the basic biology that's happening. And what you're trying to do is give it some space for this to come back down. And that's your reasoning bit. The reasoning bit comes later in your development, when you develop as from, through childhood. And it's to help that bit. And there's this thing which I basically say there's 5 steps to lift off. so lift off is when you completely in what we call the red zone. You're in that, absolutely, you're either completely exploded or you're imploded. But there's 5 steps till you get there. And in the day, depending how your day going and depending on your past, if you had a tricky childhood, let's say, you might be predisposed to already being a little bit up a notch than somebody who didn't. So you might already be at 1 or 2, depending on what happened. If you're in a car crash or some other triggering fairly recently that you haven't processed, you might be also at 1 or 2. Then you stick in a global pandemic and you're already at 3. Do you know what I mean? So you've only got 2 tokens or 2 steps left for the rest of the day. So you can imagine now we've got work and we've got home, which is like this. It's, as much as you might love your loved one, there might be moments of slight tension, because you've never lived in this, complete, pressure cooker environment. And you can see how you're already at 4. So it really doesn't take much for people to go at the moment. And when we're having these good and bad days, it's because a few different factors have happened. And we were kind of on 3, going to 4, trying to hold on. And then at 5, it's just, you've gone. So the idea about this is to understand that. But also, there's different things. As much as you can go up the stairs, you can go down the stairs. And we will all have different things that personally work for us to help us kind of come down a gear. And so some of us might find mindfulness useful. Some people with trauma don't, so it's not for everybody. Some people might find music quite useful. Other people might have, a nice bath, relaxing. Some people, that would be the opposite for them. They need to go for a run. They need to get it out, Somebody else might want a punch bag at home, just to, just get it up, or have like a little bit of wood that they just break, So depending who you are, you can do different things that will help you get down the stairs. So I think I could help people build on the solutions they already have, because we already have loads, and also kind of pick a few other ideas that I could say, that you can give different examples like I have as to they might want to try.
So you want to write about this, and I'm going to ask you in a moment what help you actually feel you need, or what would help you to actually make this a reality, you being able to write on the topic. But I just want to prime the people at home. So if you're watching thinking, okay, I might be able to help here with some kind of advice, or just maybe you want to get involved and actually help write, then these are the ways you can get in contact to help Helen out. So there are 3 ways. So first of all, you can just leave a comment underneath the Facebook Live video you're watching or on YouTube. Or you can click on the link that's next to this video and you'll actually join us here on the broadcast and you can tell Helen yourself. Or you can send a message on WhatsApp to Agatha, who's waiting with a phone in hand at the number that's about to scroll at the bottom of your screen. So Helen, tell us what it is that you feel you actually need in order to take that step to be able to write this thing.
Well, I think that I've got some of the ideas and I've got some different bits of literature. I think it's a little bit how to sequence it so it makes sense for somebody else, because it's all like, because my dyslexia, it's like all over, and that makes sense to me, but it might not to most readers. So it's something about helping me with a kind of making it order, and also I guess checking for typos, that sort of thing. And I guess I don't know which technology would help me like be able to I mean, I could actually try and, you know, speak, and I know there's things where you can speak and type, but I haven't tried them out yet, and I don't know which things work and which things don't. I mean, I still kind of plod along typing, but I think there would be a faster way to do it.
Yeah, well, there are apps out there, aren't there? I don't know the names of them, but I'm sure somebody else does. So yeah, maybe some kind of app and somebody to proofread as well. Is there anything else that you want to say to the people watching?
I don't know. I guess it's, you know, whatever help makes it a reality. I've never published anything in my life. I've literally not got a clue how you'd go about it or anything. Yeah, so any advice on how you would do that, really?
Okay, so general advice on how do I write a book and how do I get it published?
Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to cross over to Andy now, and I'm going to leave you in his hands because he's been writing this down. So he's getting this captured onto a calling card. Andy.
Hello, Helen. Hi. My apologies. I'm a disembodied voice, and you'll get to see me again fairly soon. But it's more important that you see what I've written. I'm just leaning in because I want to make sure that this is as focused as possibly can be for our wonderful friends who are watching. It's not the best of technology, but Helen, we do what we can. Great. Helen, thank you for joining us. It sounds like a fantastic book. I do like the sound of it. So I'm recording your ambition as would like to write a book. And you use the word about resilience. And I'm hearing that it's quite, in certain ways, it's a technical book for parents and maybe adoptive parents. Presumably with people dealing with a whole range of stress things. And I liked your 5 steps thing. That made a lot of sense to me. So I can picture that this book having a lot of benefit for a lot of people. Now you shared with us that there's a challenge of coping with bad dyslexia, and sadly that happens as a nurse. I don't need to tell you that. So in terms of the help that you might need, you've been wonderfully kind of open about it. And there's a sequencing thing there. So how to sequence the content for the readers. And it's the reader's journey that you're looking at there, from their experience of reading through this material. It sounds like you really know your stuff. And thank you for sharing that so eloquently. Being able to get that down into a book so it becomes at the fingertips for others is a lovely thing. So possible help on the sequencing. Tips on good writing technology, and you mentioned voice-to-text software or other types of things. And you know, if anyone out there does happen to know and really love and thinks that there's a system there that Helen is going to really benefit from, we'd love to hear from you. I'm sure. In fact, I suspect not just Helen, but it's going to be one that's popular with many people. Of course, proofreading support. I've got to admit, I'm really grateful for anyone who proofreads stuff. Even without the challenge of a neurodiversity concern, typos creep in left, right, and center anyway. So that proofreading is going to be wanted by anyone writing, I'm sure. And it's an extra reassurance to you, is what I'm hearing. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, sorry, you were saying?
I was just going, yeah, definitely. Yeah, because you it's really weird, doesn't matter how accomplished I get, I absolutely stress if what I'm writing makes like sense and doesn't have grammar problems and typos.
Yeah. So to the reader, and this is the thing, isn't it? You know, because it sounds to me that I understood what you were saying. So your book could be you talking with people direct. That might be the solution. Unfortunately, we can't do that. So, you know, writing has to be the method, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And of course, other useful tips and advice. You know, how to go about writing, how to go about publishing, maybe the journey through agents, maybe the journey through editors, maybe you know, kind of if you choose to self-publish through the Amazon process or other kind of self-publishing digital formats and so on. So tips and advice and more information so that you can make an informed decision. That's what I'm hearing there. Is that true as well?
Yeah, that's spot on. Yeah.
Oh, great. I actually do like it when we manage to get things spot on. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to change cameras. Hello. This is me. This is what I look like. And as you can see, I have our wall of ambitions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take your ambition calling card. Thank you for letting me scribe that for you. And we'll place it here on the wall. Now, normally, as you've probably heard me say, we'd be out there on the streets, maybe on New Road or Kemp Town Carnival or somewhere nice and popular where loads of people are walking past, and we invite them. We sort of lure them in, sometimes with cakes and snacks and stuff like that. I'm beginning to sound a bit dodgy, aren't I? And get them to peruse these ambitions. In your case, the ambition is up there, and we'll have it up there in digital format. And for anyone at home who has some ideas, if you feel inspired, have some tips for Helen, maybe some stories about your own experience that might inform her, or certainly this stuff about how she can go about getting that support to sequence the story right, or find the right kind of technology that's just going to make it easier, please get in touch. I stand ready with my array of Post-it notes and a pocket full of colored pens. Basically, if you have a color that you really like, I'll see if I can find it, and if I can match it, I will use it for you. And we'll get these comments up here on the sheet for you, Helen.
Lovely.
And that's it. It stays here digitally for, well, for forever and ever, maybe. And we'll keep getting this information through to you. I encourage it. I love the idea of this book, personally. A family member, I don't want to be too obvious about it, but it's basically my son has major dyslexia issues and so on. And the thing you're talking about, the whole thing about blowing our tops and being able to come back down to ourselves and so on, that sounds universal to me. I can feel that in myself, and I've seen it in others and so on. So the tips and advice there sound really worthwhile. I definitely encourage you to keep going with this. It's a lovely thing. What I normally do at this point, yeah, there he is. What I normally do at this point, Helen, is I ask Adam to join us again, because it's really important for us to let those people who are watching, and as you know, with live streams, people drop in and out. So if you're new to this, if you just joined us, this is Adam. He's going to tell us how to contact us so that we'll get your tips, advice, and words of encouragement through to Helen. Adam, how?
Thank you. Well, I wanted to jump in because we have got somebody who Helen knows who can actually offer some advice. So we'll go to Alice in a moment, but to give you the details that are required to contact us so you can help Helen at home, then what you have to do is one of three things. You can leave a comment underneath this Facebook Live video or on YouTube if that's where you're watching this, or you can click on the link that's right next to this video on top or underneath, depends on where you're looking at it, and you can actually join us right here in this video broadcast, or you can send a message on WhatsApp to the phone number that's about to scroll across the bottom of your screen. There it goes, and Agatha will be there to respond to you. So thanks, Andy. Let's bring in Alice, because Alice, you've left me a little comment there saying that I've got a couple of thoughts about this before we go to Jacek in a moment.
Yeah, so Helen and I know each other very well, but I don't know, Helen, if you know that I've written and published 4 children's books.
No.
So with my very good friend and fantastic illustrator Phoebe Kirk, we first self-published 4 books for children aged 3 to 7 in a series called Truth and Tales. So they're all about animal characters, and they look at concepts like mental health, gender, disability. So we went through the whole self-publishing process, and we published those books over the course of 2 years on our own. Then we approached publishers, got picked up. So we've gone through the whole experience of self-publishing, pitching to publishers, being accepted, negotiating the contract, and then getting the books out there. And they're now published with our fantastic publishers, JKP Books, who are part of Hachette, who publish so many great books on children's like mental health, and same for teenagers. They specialize in autism and gender. So I can definitely support you with any questions you have around that whole process, because we built the books ourselves and then worked with the publisher to refine them.
Yeah, no, and I think you raise a really good point as well in terms of accessibility, because for me, you could have the same book, but you could do a primary school version, you could do a teenage version, and you could do, you know, a slightly drier adult version. But I think you could actually have, because I think everyone should be empowered with you know, this knowledge and accessibility, whatever your age. And I think there's a lot of assumptions that children can't be in charge of their own destiny of emotions, and they haven't quite developed like this bit yet, and everyone's expecting them to, but they know all about that bit because they're trying to constantly be on top of that, and it's actually quite a lot of pressure. So I think any child or adult who struggles not going into fight, flight or freeze probably could do with, you know, with the hints and tips as well, actually.
Yeah,
that's amazing. I can't believe I didn't know that about you.
I can't believe it hasn't come up in all of our conversations.
No, but yeah.
Fancy that. See, the answers are closer to home. It just goes to show that the most important thing about any idea that we have is just to get it out there in the universe, and the answers will be around. So thank you so much, Helen, and thank you, Alice, as well. We'll come back to you later, because hopefully you've got some more gems you can share and more revelations about what you've done in the past as well. So we're going to go to Jacek in just a moment, but last thing to say for you, Helen, is basically we're going to obviously keep on asking people to send in their comments with any support, and we'll also make this a digital post. You know, we have a campaign called Ambitions of Brighton, so we'll write a little post about your ambition that we'll get promoting as well throughout the next week as well at some point. So yes, we'll be in touch.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Helen. All the best.
Bye.
So that's Helen. That's the first participant who has come on and decided to share her idea, and look where it's got her already. So if you have a goal, idea or ambition and you're thinking, well, I don't know if I should do that or not, just get it out there, see what happens. And we actually have a slot later on that you could come on and fill. So if you want to come on this evening onto this very broadcast and share your goal, idea or ambition, no matter what it is, doesn't matter if it's huge or if it's something modest, it's valid. So come on and share it. You can just click on the link that's next to this video and you'll join us right here. Or you can leave a comment and say, I'd like to share my goal. Or you can send a message to Agatha on the WhatsApp number that's right on the bottom of your screen this very second. So let's go to our next participant, and his name is Jacek. Hello, Jacek. Thank you for waiting patiently. You've been there for a little while. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm doing great. Today is a very special day for everyone, I imagine. So everyone is celebrating on the street around our place.
How's it been on your street?
Yes, there was everyone outside trying to keep the social distancing and also celebrate the day. So very nice.
Oh, that's good. Where I am, there's absolutely nobody around. I'm the only person that lives around here, and I'm in lockdown on my own. So it's been a very quiet VE day. But hey, anyhow, let's talk about what you're here for. Now, I really love this goal that you have. So please share it with everybody. What is it that you'd like to do?
Well, we got some friends back in Gambia. We visited a couple of times, and we basically like to help them around to basically survive first this COVID-19, and also being able to support children to be able to go to school, and even being able to buy small land and build a house. Because
Wow.
yeah, it sounds huge, but it's not really that um, for us. For me personally, it is a bit of spending, but if few people might join, that might be achievable. To buy the land is anything from like 5,000 pounds per land, 20 by 20 meters, and to build a house in there, just basic, is again around 2,000 pounds, which is achievable goal. For the moment, the first time I've been with my partner only to the Gambia, and last year I've been with whole family. We still have the same friends since last time, since 2010. We're helping them as often as we can. We're sending them some parcels with clothes which we not using anymore. We had some people joining us, giving some shoes, some clothing. At the moment, it's a bit easier in that way because yeah, shipping is quite pricey to Gambia. So instead of that, we either buying directly in the shop, which is in Gambia, buying food, buying basics. That's not some tellies or buying something which, well, if we buy telly, they'll be happy. But it's basics. It's a 50-kilo bag of rice, it's bag of onion, and some other food just to keep them survive on daily basis. Especially last year, and was hard season for Gambian people because of Thomas Cook collapsing, and that was the main participant for bringing tourists around. Season Tourist season in Gambia, main tourist season, is 6 months from November till end of April, because then it starts Ramadan, and after that is rainy season. So that's why there is some people around, but not as much as the main season.
So how are you looking to raise the money, Jacek?
Well, I'm thinking to start some GoFundMe page as one thing. Another thing for local people around Brighton Hove or East Sussex, West Sussex, because I'm self-trader, and I can offer some services in exchange of some donations, some money. I'm doing the external window cleaning, which is possible these days, as well as carpet cleaning, which can be with social distancing is still possible. Well, some people, some landlords might have empty properties which require some cleaning, some refresh. So I'm happy to do that, and basically helping you to help others.
Brilliant.
If
That's
someone
exactly it, isn't it?
is
So
happy to,
yeah,
carry on, Adam.
you want to be able to do odd jobs and just things that people need doing and around the house, whether it's cleaning windows or cleaning carpets, or it sounds like you've got skills that would be useful for maybe just odd jobs that are needed in the house, like if my banister's broken or something like that. Is that right?
Yeah, some DIY as well. That's not a problem at all. I'm happy to do it. Obviously, I need to provide for family too, but we like to see how much we can help. You can, if you would like to see those people which we helping directly 3 families, which they're quite big families, and obviously they helping each other. If there is in compound, they helping each other. So there is many people basically getting help from one, supporting even one person. They sharing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to show who we help, so it's nothing anonymous. We donating everything which we collect, so it's nothing. There is no fees or anything for us, because we can survive around here. So it's not for us. It's for them, which they really need our help, especially these days when they have also lockdown. They cannot work. If they even get some work, they on average earn £3 a day for 8 hours of hard work. So it isn't even there. It isn't much. Obviously, day by day earning, so day by day spending, which means they cannot save or do anything else with it. So if anyone is willing to help in any way, either by donating on a page which I will set up shortly, or by basically letting me do something in their place, like external window cleaning or some other contact-free jobs at the moment, I'm happy to do it for the sake of helping others.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for doing it. It's really clear what you want to do. You want to help raise some funds and get some resources to your friends in the Gambia, the 3 families, and you want to do it by helping people with their household jobs, window cleaning, carpet cleaning. So I think actually that's perfectly summed it all up. So I'm going to hand you over to Andy now, who's ready with the Wall of Ambitions. Andy.
Jacek, hello. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for bringing such a selfless ambition.
Hello, Andy.
Hello. Just to be clear to anyone who's watching, we're very happy with any ambition. It doesn't have to be selfless. It can also be very selfish. And in fact, we encourage both, because you are important too. Jacek, thank you very much for this. I've attempted to capture what you said. Let me run through it with you to make sure. Now, you have some friends in Gambia, and you're talking about, in particular, 3 large families that you have direct contact with, and you can see and you know the challenges and the difficulty they're currently going through. So that, I understand, is a very good motivation for trying to help them. So you are hoping to support your friends in the Gambia, who, as you shared with us, are struggling, first of all, because of the way that COVID-19 has impacted their lives. And, we're hearing a lot in the press about how tourism has really come to a grinding halt. So I can understand how they wouldn't have any income. And you're also hoping to go on to support them into the future. And you talked about the possibility of creating schools, of getting more secure homes. But before that, there's also a thing about needing to be able to live. So food and essentials. So you're trying to raise funds for them. Okay, in the long term, to buy the land, to take control, to have these longer infrastructure things. But certainly at the moment, supplying essentials, food and stuff to keep them living. Is that about right? Is that have I captured why you're doing this right?
Yes. Also, we're helping one of those families to pay the rent for the place they're currently in, because as it doesn't sound much, it's about £150 for 6 months.
Yeah.
It is, as I mentioned previously, quite a lot of money for them there.
Yes, and that point is coming home very strongly. So in terms of the help you need, you're making quite a lovely offer here. You're not saying money for nothing. You're saying that you're very happy to put yourself out there and do what we've called odd jobs. And you talked about cleaning outside windows, maybe doing some DIY repairs and so on. So there's stuff there that you're more than happy to do over and above raising money, of course, to keep yourself alive. You're looking at stuff that you can get donations for, that you can send through to these people in the Gambia. And you're also
That's
talking,
right.
yeah, it's a lovely thing. And the array of skills that you've shared with us, it'd be nice maybe on your website to be able to show examples of that when you get that up and running. And of course, to be able to possibly go launch a GoFundMe page or some way for direct donations. And from what you're telling us, a small amount of money will make a massive difference over there because of that difference in the price of things.
Yes, it will make a significant difference. We've got those families are quite big families. They got lots of children. Obviously, that is to provide for parents in the future. But we, in a way, want to help them, and just by helping them to start their lives and being able to sort out themselves as well. So it's not one-off thing. We're doing that for years, and as much as we can. We know that sometimes just sending money, it is helping, even buying the electricity, because they got electricity by top up, by buying basic food. I know all this money is spent well. It's not just spent on some parties or something like that. It's really to survive.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much for that. What I'm going to do is swap the cameras over again. Here we go. And hi, Jacek.
Hi.
Hey. So what I'm going to do now, with your permission, is take the ambition calling card that I have drafted for you and put it here on our wall of ambitions. Now, as you know, normally we take this wall of ambition and we stand out there on the street corners or in public places, festivals, fairs, and so on, and invite people to come in and have a little look-see, and we'll make comments and allow them to make comments direct. Here, I stand ready with my array of post-its to do that on people's behalf. And I will be happy to do the same for you. Maybe there will be people who have some advice for you on how you can help raise funds, or maybe other funds that you can apply to on behalf of your friends in the Gambia. There may be stuff there that you may not have thought of that might be useful. There may be people out there who are happy to do odd jobs and get donations to support these people as well, and join you in that journey. And there may be some help out there on setting up the kind of funding site, or maybe capturing the stories of the lives that your friends are going through and the difference that your help is making. Who knows? It's whatever else people can think of. So we put the call out there, both on our live show and also on the repeats of this show. And we'll see what comes in. Adam, at this point, I normally ask you, hi, to go through how people can get in touch with us.
There are 3 ways you can do it. You can either leave a message underneath the Facebook live video that you're watching now, or maybe you're watching on YouTube, maybe via Twitter. If you go to the YouTube page, you can also leave a comment there and we'll see it and we'll be able to put it on the screen. Or you can click on the link that's right next to this video and you'll be able to actually come into this broadcast and speak to Jacek yourself if you're really quick. If not, you can still speak to us and we'll pass it on to him. Or you can send a message to the number that's right there, just disappearing at the bottom of your screen. It'll come back round and you can send a WhatsApp message to Agatha, who's ready and waiting. So thank you very much, Andy. And I, just want to say it's a really nice ambition, a really selfless thing to do. And so if you at home, if you need your windows cleaning, or you need your carpet cleaning, or there's some DIY in the house that you can do, you can let Jacek do from a safe distance, then why not get in touch? Because Jacek is going to send the money directly to his friends in the Gambia that would really need it. Is there anything else, Jacek, that you would like to add before you go?
Well, is there any way people contacting me directly, or through your Facebook and your YouTube and obviously WhatsApp number?
Well, what I'll invite you to do, what might be helpful, is you said you had a page set up for this, right? So how about you copy and paste the link to that page as a comment on Facebook so people can contact you directly. But also, if people do contact us, then we'll make sure to pass it on to you.
Sure. Yes, we'll do.
Yeah. Okay. And before you go, Jacek, I just wanted to say that Alice from BelongCon has just mentioned that she'd be happy to share the link to the fundraising page on the BelongCon page, so we can get the message spread out there a bit more.
Fabulous. Thank you very much for that.
All right, Jacek. And one other thing, also, we'll be making a digital post. We'll be making a social media post specifically about your goal as well. So we'll make sure that it gets out to more people.
Brilliant. Yes.
All right. Thanks for all you're doing, Jacek, and best of luck with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. That's 2 participants down. Let's go straight into the third, because we're, it's about time for that. So the third person up is somebody called Fritz. Hi, Fritz.
Hi, hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Nice and clear. You were just sending me a message going, oh my gosh, the internet. Having some lagging issues, but you're like clean as a whistle.
Perfect. Hopefully for the next 15 minutes, it will just hold out and that'll be fine.
Well, you know what? This is actually the best connection I think we've had. I don't want to jinx it, but anyhow. So let me ask you about what is your goal, idea, or ambition?
So I had an idea a little while ago, and essentially it was to perhaps set up a charity or a foundation that would part pay for people to access in-person talking or art therapy. And essentially it sort of came from the idea that so I personally have experienced, have been very lucky to be able to experience in-person talking therapy with a really good therapist, and I had that for a little while, and it really benefited me to a really great degree. But the thing that I encountered was that therapy is really expensive. And if you don't have access to that kind of financial buffer, then you might then opt to go on the NHS waiting list, but that can be really long. I've had friends who have applied for that, and they've spent months on the waiting list, and then they get sort of 10 sessions, and they got something out of it, but ultimately they didn't seem to get the same benefits that I did. And I was only really able to be able to afford to have therapy for as long as I did because I essentially asked my parents to help me. And so what I thought, might be beneficial for other people is if there could be an organisation of sorts that would help to contribute to the cost of therapy sessions for other people. And so, it's just a vague idea at the moment. And some things that I've been talking through with my mum have been ideas about whether whether it would be for everybody, whether it would be for a certain section of people. We talked quite a lot earlier on today about whether it would be for the LGBTQ plus community, because mental health in the LGBTQ plus community is a real problem. For many reasons, and whether that's an option, or whether it's even a charity or a foundation. There are so many different ways to go about it, and essentially, I just need some help.
Okay, well, I can really sense that this is coming from a place of experience in a way, and also wanting to do something about a wrong that you see, the fact that people can't afford to get the therapy that they need. So I wonder if you could just expand on that a little bit more without going into any personal details, but why is it so important to you that you can find a solution or provide a solution for this problem?
Essentially, you know, I see that there are lots of other mental health charities that are doing a really great job for the general population. And I also see lots of charities, who, you know, for different sectors of society also doing a really great job. And, you know, I see that there are online therapy services available. But what I've really found, and what, you know, other friends have also found, is that in-person therapy, at least, you know, whether that's sort of once or twice a month, and then the other sessions might be on the phone or online, but just to be able to have that sort of hour where you make that commitment a week to be able to have that for yourself, and to be able to be, you know, in the presence of someone who is qualified to be able to help you, you know, to ask you the right questions, to be able to help you to unpack, you know, the things that you are experiencing at that time. And, you know, as somebody who is part of the LGBTQ plus community myself, I know that currently there is a big problem with mental health within the community, and like I said before, you know, that's because of a myriad of things that occur for people in that community. You know, it might be that they're worried about coming out, it might be that they have come out and they've received really adverse reactions to that. They might have problems at home, they might have problems because they don't feel like they belong anywhere. You know, there's a big belonging, a big lack of a feeling of belonging sometimes for LGBTQ plus people. And so essentially I see that there is a problem, and I see that there are some organisations and charities who are offering some kind of help, but specifically for the LGBTQ plus community. Maybe not. You know, there's also, you know, a potential question around whether people who would like to opt for the service would like to have a therapist who also is well trained, you know, in LGBTQ plus issues. You know, that might be something that is really important to people. And so, yeah, essentially I sort of see a slight gap, and I just had an idea that maybe this might be a possible way to sort of contribute to the solution.
And what do you think about the current lockdown and the physical distancing and everything, and what kind of impact that might have on this?
Well, essentially what I'm thinking is that, you know, there are some of us who are very lucky to be experiencing lockdown with, you know, loved ones, with people that we trust, with people that, you know, are bringing about feelings of just love and connection. And then there are other people who are experiencing lockdown with people that they might not feel safe with, and you know, that might all just be perpetuating a worse mental health. And I can only sort of see really that, you know, not, you know, it's sort of in a bigger band of people than just the LGBTQ plus community. You know, I can sort of see that that mental health might be on the decline because of you know, what's going on at the moment. And so you know, I'm a big advocate for therapy. I think everybody should have some therapy at some point in their life, probably at regular points in your life. You know, there's a lot going on, and so, you know, I don't think it needs this stigma that's attached to it. I think, you know, it should be something that's readily available, and people just say, yep, actually right now is the right time for me, I would like to receive some therapy. But, you know, if there is an issue with accessing it, then perhaps this might be a way that people can do that.
So you have an idea to provide therapy, or to enable people to access therapy at an affordable price, or maybe free, who knows, and potentially as well, specifically for the LGBTQ plus community. I know you've thought about this, but can you articulate the things that you feel right now you could do with help with in order to take this a bit closer to reality? Essentially, just guidance with, you know, with setting up a charity, if a charity is the right thing for it to be. You know, so my mum's worked in the charity sector for a very, very long time, and she sort of has pointed out that perhaps, you know, a foundation might be better, but you know, we both just need a bit more guidance in you know, which of those might be best in order to sort of best serve other people.
and just sort of how do we select who receives the payment? Is it just first come first serves? How many sessions do we pay for these people, and is there a way that they can give back afterwards? Can they become someone who donates to future people's therapy sessions as well? I kind of imagine it as a cyclical thing where hopefully people who have benefited from it can then give back to others. At the minute, it just seems like a really big idea, and I kind of feel like I just sort of rolled over one morning and was like, yeah, that's a really great idea, and then was like, I don't know how to do that. Anybody who's got advice on any kind of charity work, or particularly to do with therapy and counselling, and anybody who can help with just advice on how to just start, and also I guess a really important point is that obviously, because it's quite a sensitive topic, how do we go about this in a sensitive way that sort of protects people, because obviously they might be at their most vulnerable at that time.
Okay, right. You at home, you've heard Frit talk about what she needs help with. If anything there has actually struck a chord with you and you think you might be able to help with any kind of advice or contacts or information, guidance, or any other kind of support, these are the 3 ways you can get in touch. Leave a message underneath this Facebook live video or on YouTube, or you can click on the link that's next to this video in the text and you can actually join this video broadcast, or you can leave a message on WhatsApp for Agatha, and the number for that is about to scroll across the bottom of your screen. So I'm going to hand you over to Andy now, Frit, and then we'll have a chat again in just a bit, because we've already had a comment come in for you. So let's go over to Andy.
Hello, Frit.
Hello.
Hello, hi. Thanks for joining us. My apologies, as always, for being the disembodied voice next to the text, which is the way it goes. This is the whole thing about juggling cameras. So what I'd like to do with you, if I may, is go through what I've written down and just make sure that I've managed to capture the essence of what you've said, which is that you'd like to help people access talking and or art therapy. Did I hear that right? Did you say art therapy earlier on?
I did, yes, because essentially, there are a number of different therapies that people can receive, and different ones resonate with different people. I know art therapy is another really good option for a lot of people, and really sort of works for them to be able to sort of deal with whatever it is that they're dealing with at the time. So so currently talking and art therapies, but I'm open to other forms as well.
Yes, and I got that sense that you would be open to so many other forms as well, and that's in what you were saying about it being an emerging ambition. So in particular, help with funds, because you recognise, you shared with us that it is expensive, and I can share with you, and I'm happy to do so, that my personal experience is that it's expensive as well. So we're going to get a lot of people watching, I think, who will nod at that comment as you share the reality of either having to find funds yourselves or going through our wonderful NHS, which I think is brilliant, but having to accept that there's a waiting list there are limited resources, and there's only a certain amount that they can actually offer there. Now, you're looking at, you talked about possibly setting up a charity or foundation, but it's coming through really strongly that there's a question mark about that you're exploring. And this is where the call for help comes in. So maybe a charity, maybe a foundation, some way of legally holding and passing through the funds to support people access this this way of supporting themselves. Likewise, you've talked about the focus is still in discussion. And you've identified that maybe LGBT communities, that there's a particular need there, and or you have a personal affinity. And I say to you, if you have a personal affinity to something, that is probably one of the best reasons for getting involved and supporting that particular group. Like Jacek a little earlier, the personal contact with those people in the Gambia really brings it home. We understand more, and that allows you to tap into the passion that I'm hearing from you. And I'm actually really quite honored that you're sharing with us. So in terms of the help you need, in red there, I've actually just written guidance, please, because that seemed to be the core of what you're asking for. Okay, I've written there, general advice, insight and knowledge, not only to help you develop it up as an idea, but also to set it up and get it established. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, I've never set up a charity before. I have set up a company before, but yeah, a charity or a foundation or an organisation that sort of is non-profit. You know, all of that is new to me.
So the ways this might support people through to talking therapies or art therapies or just therapies, it is part of the discussion that you have there. I mean, Jacek was talking about him offering to do odd jobs effectively to get donations through, and no doubt part of your question here is ideas for how that money can come in, ideas for maybe how you as an organization could help others to apply for money from trusts as a way of helping them. And it's ironic, it's unfortunate, it's almost an insult that at a time of need people have to find the resilience to be able to ask for the money and actually articulate why they need it. It's like an insult after injury. So, you know, part of what you're offering there sounds really useful to me. Yeah, let's see what comes in. Now, if okay with you, I'd like to change cameras. This is a bit where I lean into the technology. It'd be nice if I can remote control this. Hey Frit, this is me. Hello.
Hey.
Thank you. That's one of the best kind of responses to people seeing my face I've had all day. Frit, with your permission, I would like to put your ambition calling card, or rather the ambition calling card that I have scribed for you, up here, proud and prominent on our wall of ambition. This wall of ambition normally goes around with us. We go and hang out on street corners. We accost, well, actually we don't accost people. We just stand there and lure them in with a variety of snacks and lovely, delicious things, often donated to us by the local community fund, who really appreciate that sort of connection, and so on, with lovely, delicious cupcakes that are probably not that good for you, but you never know. Anyway, so this would be up there, and we would invite people to make comments. You know, generally speaking, we tend to get 3 types of comments from people, and they are, in no particular order, words of encouragement or tips and advice, something that they know that maybe you don't. And it's hard to say what you do know on a short piece of paper like that, but occasionally we get a comment that is amazingly lateral, amazingly different, and it can help you go in a different direction. So if anyone who's watching has a thought about a direction that Frit can go, please let us know. We will be more than happy to share that with her. The second type of comment we get are actual contacts, people who can do something. You know, there may be someone out there who says, I know someone who has loads of experience setting up charities and foundations, who would be happy to give you the advice, tips, and maybe even help you do this, which would be brilliant, which touches on the third type of contact that we get. The third type of comment is, that's really interesting. Can I come along with you? And if you are watching this and this resonates for you, either on the LGBT community area or maybe the mental well-being, and remember, as is now accepted, 1 in 4 of us will go through a mental well-being challenge that is significant at some point in our lives. We need to accept that this is normal and that we need to cope with it as normal. So to be able to help Frit kind of break that taboo and help people access support, maybe that resonates for you and you'd like to join her. In which case, please do get in touch and we'll be, again, more than happy to connect you through to her on that. At the risk of repeating, actually between you and me, Frit, and anyone else who's watching, hi everybody, repetition is our friend, which is why I'm going to invite the lovely Adam back onto the screen with us and invite him to share with us the ways that people can actually get in touch.
Yes. Number 1, you can get onto the Facebook live video that you're probably watching this through, and you can leave a comment right underneath it. and it'll pop up on our screen and we can put it up on the broadcast here. Or you can actually join us in this video broadcast by clicking on the link that you'll see in the text that accompanies this video. Or you'll see a number that's about to scroll across the bottom of your screen, and you can send a WhatsApp message to our lovely friend Agatha, who's waiting with the phone in her hand, ready to pass on any comments. So thank you, Andy. We'll be back with you in just a bit, because I can now actually share. Oh, in fact, Andy, you need to get the post-it notes ready, because we've had a couple of comments already. Because, Frit, you shared with me earlier what the goal was, and I actually thought, I think I've got a couple of friends that might be able to help out. So we've already had this comment come through from somebody I know. Ooh, sorry, got to climb above the comment. Somebody called Neil, who says, I'm the former chair of As You Are Centre, so you can see the web address there, and they provide counselling and group work for depression, stress and anxiety in Sussex. He says it's a very long and challenging road to sustain such an entity, and he's happy to chat. Now, I actually know Neil. He's an absolutely brilliant man. He's been a mentor for me, and he's got a couple of decades of experience in this field. So I definitely recommend speaking to him if you get the chance. And that's not the only comment that we've had through. This is another one for you, Frit. I'm on my tiptoes literally right now. This is from Howard, who says he set up something locally called Recovery Partners. Have you heard of them?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so he says they've been seeing people with mental health issues for some years, and a year ago we completed the process of becoming a registered charity.
Yay.
So, yeah, that's great for them, and it sounds like he might be able to offer you some thoughts there as well. Does that sound useful?
That sounds really useful. Yeah, it just gives me sort of a direction to go in, and then who knows from there, you know, where it might branch off to next. But yeah, exactly. As a starting point, that's absolutely perfect. Thank you so much.
No, not at all. And actually, we've got a third comment that came in. This one's a bit longer, so I'll try and paraphrase. And this is from somebody called Claire, who runs Kennedy Street and Company. So for anybody who doesn't know what they do, then they provide something called the Community Connections Program. And Claire is just one of the nicest people you could ever meet. And she helps people who are in the process of recovery to set up their own social enterprises. That's kind of what she's specialized in. And she's constantly running programs, constantly helping people. And anyway, so she got in touch with me and she said, at the beginning, it's all about research, research, research. And she says you could start for it by having a good research of the resource centre's legal structures page. So you were saying, you know, you're not 100% sure if it is a charity that you want to set up as. Maybe it's a foundation, maybe it's something else. So she says, look at the resource centre. So their website address is resourcecentre.org.uk. They're a brilliant service based in Brighton. And then she says, once you've read up there, you might want to research nationally other charitable therapy services, research them and even ring them up. And she says there are some beautiful people out there who have set up their project organically, who will happily spend 30 minutes sharing how they got started. Now, the thing is with charities, there's not always the same kind of support as there are for social enterprises. So she's made that point to me, and she said as well that the School of Social Entrepreneurs actually have a scheme that could help you. You could get a funded place on a training program with them, which would include business mentoring and funding. So I'm going to make sure that I pass these details on to you in an email a bit later on. So yeah, I hope some of that is going to be useful for you.
Oh, I think that's more than I could have hoped for. And I know my mum's watching, so she's probably avidly taking notes now anyway. So.
That's great. Yeah. Hi, Mum.
Hi, Mum. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for having me on here. It's been a really great way to spend this evening. Thank you.
We're not done with you yet, Frit, because Alice wants to say a quick word as well. Alice.
Come on in, Alice.
Hi, Frit. How's it going?
Good, thank you.
So Andy mentioned the kind of 3 types of comments. I'm gonna give all of them. The first one is, I think this sounds like an absolutely amazing idea, and I get how privileged I am to have been able to access the therapy and the support that has helped me. And I think the opportunity to pay that forward into another community would be incredible. And I think that a lot of people feel that way. So I think it's an absolutely wonderful idea. Secondly, if there is any way once you get going that BelongCon can support you, like, let me know, because we have such a, you know, as you know, from being, you know, speaking at events, being on the podcast and being part of our community for so long, we have such a focus on mental health, and, you know, anywhere that we can support our community to access the help that they need, you know, we would be more than happy to share anything you're putting out there. And thirdly, a recommendation for you is to get in touch with the phenomenal people at the Good Business Club. So the founders of that, Adam's a member as well. So, you know, I'm a member of the Good Business Club, and the founders, Sarah Osterholzer and Ruth Anslow, are specialists in setting up social enterprises and businesses for good. They founded the Good Business Club with that specific purpose. And they have a lot of other members who offer legal advice, you know, business support, business coaching, business mentoring, for any business that has a really strong social purpose. And I know that they've got members who are charities, who are social enterprises. So I'm sure that they would be able to connect you with someone that has the answers that you need. And they're an incredible community.
Perfect. Oh, thank you so much for your suggestions, and really nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
Lovely. Well, thanks so much for that, Alice. I don't know how I would have retained all of that information in my head in one go, but yeah, I admire that. Thanks, Alice. We'll come and speak to you a bit later. We've got Frankie lined up, who's coming next, and we'll see what her ambition is. But just before you go for it, I wanted to just cross to Andy again, just to have a look at your calling card, now that it's seemingly, I imagine, covered with Post-it.
I have scrabbled as best I can there. And it's interesting how my handwriting suffers when I'm scrabbling. Ah, well. But because people have been kind enough to kind of make these comments in a way that we can record them, Adam's going to be supporting us by emailing these in more detail. But I say thank you to everyone who's messaged in and supported for it, really on her behalf and on our behalf as well. Really appreciate that. It just helps us. It's so nice to mug along together, and I'm happy to do so. And there we go for it.
Thank you. That looks amazing. What a privilege to have so many Post-it notes. I mean, I love Post-it notes anyway, so that's a real good to see.
But it's so nice at live physical events that back in the day we were able to run, when you actually come along to an event with a physical sheet, and you've written down on it what your goal is or your ambition, and you've written down a few bullet points as to what help you need, and you think, I don't think anyone's really going to be able to help me. And you stick it up, and lo and behold, there are other people in the space who are saying, oh yeah, you can do this, that, and the other. And it makes you feel so good. It makes you feel so valued and supported, and as if you belong. So hopefully we're transmitting some kind of digital version of that this evening. Okay, Frit, is there anything else you'd like to add to the people watching just before you go?
No, just thank you so much for taking the time to watch. And yeah, if you've got any guidance or extra tips you'd like to give, then yeah, please do get in touch. And I'd love to just talk about this further with more people.
Lovely. Incredible ambition. All the best with it. And I've tagged the Good Business Club into a comment underneath the Facebook Live video as well, so you can check them out there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Tremendous. Really, really good privilege to speak to you tonight, Frit. Thank you.
And you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Hey, Adam, can I interrupt a little and talk about the wall of ambitions that we do?
Well, I was wondering if you could take us on a guided tour of the wall.
I would love to. But before I do that, while it's in my mind, can I share with folks, hi folks, the wall is certainly a place where we put ambition calling cards, but Ambigo, we're more than happy to do more than that with you. And normally when we set up our wall of ambitions, we also have something that we like to call the contemplation station. Actually, the contemplation station is a picnic table where we normally put all those snacks and nibbles and drinks and so on. But it's also a space where we will happily sit down and have a chat with you if you feel that you don't know how to say what your ambition is, or for that matter, if you're not actually sure what your ambition is. You just have a sense that there's something you might like to do a little more in your life to bring you more fun, to improve the quality of your life, maybe to alleviate some boredom, or maybe to help you connect with others, or whatever. And all of these are really good things. We are blessed. We are really grateful to an array of volunteers who often come out with us, some of whom have incredible skills. They're life coaches, they're therapists, they're people with good life experience. And if you're watching, hey guys, thank you. We're really looking forward to coming out and spending time with you again. And they often give the same sort of time to you, to people who come and have a chat. Likewise, I mean, you know, if you're not quite sure but would like to have a chat, get in touch with us and we'll have a little chat and maybe help you word up an ambition calling card that we can put on this wall. That's the bit I wanted to say. And whilst I've got your attention, would you fancy a little tour of what's been going on so far?
Yes, please.
There was no prompting there at all. Right, we've had Helen. Helen, thank you very much for joining us. Helen would like to write a book, and it sounds like a fantastic book with lots of information, tips and advice around dealing with resilience. There's technical stuff in there, but she's talking about making it really useful for a whole variety of readers, starting with parents and adoptive parents. Now, she has shared with us there's a particular concern she has. She is coping with the challenge of dealing with quite bad dyslexia. And in that, the help that she's called for is stuff like how to help her sequence the content so that readers can find it easy to go through. Tips on good writing, technology, ways that can help her do that, proofreading support, editing, and other useful tips and advice, which is a nice sort of call, and it'd be really lovely to help her out. And Alice has already shared. It turns out Alice from BelongCon, who's with us tonight, is a published author and was happy to offer tips in there. So it was lovely to make those connections. Jacek here has friends in the Gambia who are clearly suffering, and his personal insight of that has motivated him to try and raise support for them. In the first place, stuff to help them cope with being locked down in Gambia with us in the same way we are. But because the tourism is a very strong part of their trade there, without that, they are really suffering in terms of needs and so on. So he's looking for essential supplies and so on, as well as a longer term support to help them uplift and empower their lives. And he's offering a fantastic thing of exchanging his own effort for donations for these people through a formal structure, of course. He's offering odd jobs, window cleaning, DIY, stuff like that. So if you need a little work done, get in touch. And in fact, Helen has said that she may well have a DIY task that she can get involved in. So, you know, we'll happily make that connection. Thank you, Helen. And of course, we've just spoken to Frit. Thank you for joining us, Frit, who has very candidly and very honestly shared with us her experience of benefiting from talking therapy and art therapy. And as Alice lovely, in a lovely way, has said, has felt the urge to pay forward, to give on. And, you know, that's a lovely thing, a lovely motivation. So she's looking for some way of being able to set up a way of helping people into therapies where they can't afford to, and where the waiting for our wonderful NHS, which I think is wonderful, where that may be too long to wait, and so on. Thank you, Frit. There you go. That is a rapid tour of the ambitions that we've had here so far. Normally, we'd allow you to browse at your own speed. And in fact, you can do so by, once the show's over, just coming in at the right time code and having a good look at the card when it's up on screen. And please do make those comments. Actually, Adam, are you okay to share how people could get in touch with us?
People can get in touch in 3 ways. You can either leave a comment underneath the Facebook Live video you're probably watching, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can leave a comment there as well. Or you can actually join us on this video broadcast and be one of the people speaking. And you can do that by clicking on the link that's right next to this video. You'll see it in the text box. And also, if you have WhatsApp, you can spot that number there on the bottom of the screen, and you can send a message to Agatha. So they are the 3 ways that you can get in touch. Now, this evening, you can get in touch in those 3 ways in order to provide some kind of support for somebody else's goal, either one of the people that we've just heard about there with Andy, or with one of the people coming up. However, we also have a spot later on that you might want to take yourself. So at the end of the broadcast, we do have a slot available for you. If you're there going, this is pretty cool that people are getting to share their goals, ideas, and ambitions and invite support from the community for them. So if you do have a goal, even if you've not shared it before, even if you've not told anybody before, and as you just heard with Frit, her goal wasn't something fully established. It was just a vague idea, she said. So maybe your thing's just a vague idea, but the important thing is to get it out there, and then support can come your way. So if you'd like to take that slot at the end of the broadcast, then you can just leave a message, as I said, on Facebook, or you can actually just click on the button and join us straight here. So if that sounds good, we'd love to talk to you. Okay, Andy, let's go and speak to the next participant who is ready and waiting.
Yes.
And that is Frankie. Evening, Frankie.
Hello, good evening.
Great to see your smiling face. And just
thank
tell me
you.
how you are on this Friday evening, first of all.
Yeah, I'm very well, actually. Thank you. I'm glad it's the weekend. I'm still working, so I'm glad that I've finished and got a few days free.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, I was going to say, like you said, I'm glad it's the weekend. I'm like, what's the difference between the days anymore? Yeah. Anyhow, so I'd love to hear about your goal, idea, or ambition. Tell me all about it.
So I'd really like to start public speaking and giving my own talks, and I just have absolutely no idea where to start at all. It's a goal that I've had for quite a long time, and I've sort of put it on my year's ambitions or a few months' ambitions to have again and again, but I've never actually achieved it. And I can't even work out really what it is that's stopping me, because I'm not actually afraid of public speaking. I have a job where I introduce films in front of 100 people or 300 people. So it's not that I'm worried about public speaking, but it just feels like I'm in a sort of a rut that I can't really actually turn this thing that I want to do into reality.
What do you think that is? What do you put it down to?
I don't know. I don't know whether it's maybe a little bit of like imposter syndrome, where I don't know what I have to tell people that they don't already know, or whether it's just not knowing how to start a tool, not knowing how to find events to speak at, or who I should be speaking to, or, you know, even how to structure talks and write talks, like the very first steps.
So what is it you would actually like to talk about?
Well, I've thought about a lot of different things over different amounts of time. I think probably something that I could talk quite a lot about is how I've used my own life lessons and the things that I've done to be a more positive person, to be braver, to be more resilient. I'm like quite a happy person, as you can maybe tell, but it's not necessarily always because I've got the happiest life ever. It's just because through the difficulties in my life, I've learned all these little tips and techniques that I then use to make myself happy when things aren't going so well.
Are you happy to share some of the challenges you faced and how that has left you with this happy disposition?
Yeah, I'm not going to go into too much detail because not all of them are my own, but I was a young carer when I was quite young, so there's been a lot of sort of like cancer in the family. And sort of like quite a lot of illness around that. So there's been some really sort of tough times. And I've learned a lot of those tough times, but then those have actually also helped me. I spend quite a lot of time in the outdoors and doing sort of like more adventurous sports. And the life lessons have helped me in those. And then the things that I've learned from those sports has then helped me again in life. So there's definitely a crossover there.
Yeah, no, I find that fascinating. So my background is in sports journalism. So can you give me an example of the crossover there of something you've learned from competing, or I don't know if you've competed necessarily, but practicing sport, and how you've actually grasped that and gone, I'm going to use that learning for the rest of my life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one story that really sticks out for me is sort of when I was about 19, I just moved into my own shared house, and it was a really grotty shared house with about 16 other people, and I had to keep my bedroom door locked, and it was horrible. And I decided that I was going to use all the savings I'd had to book a holiday to go to Florida and do my skydiving course.
Oh, wow.
And learn to skydive, which was huge because I'd never been on a long haul flight before, and I'd certainly never been on holiday by myself before. And the skydiving itself is absolutely petrifying. The whole time you're getting ready and you're going up in the plane and you get higher and higher and you're looking out the window and you're like, and then you get in the doorway. And the most difficult thing is just having to jump and having to take that step. And once you've done it, everything else is fine. And I think that's a really good lesson in life, that sometimes you don't need to write a talk. You just need to ask someone else what you want to talk about. You don't have to smash a job interview, but you do have to take the jump and apply for the job.
Yeah, I can relate to that in a certain way, in terms of, I'm just, even having goosebumps thinking about when I did a bungee jump, the only bungee jump I've ever done. And when you're going up, they're constantly chatting at you. They're engaging you in conversation because they don't want you to chicken out and think too much. And I got to the edge and there's just that split second of, am I going to do this or am I not? And then you go and you're just like, oh,
and you've already done it then. Yeah.
Straight into the ground, but you don't. And then you come out of it and go, oh, okay, I can trust that if I do just take that leap, then actually I can do things, I can achieve things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us about what you think would help you enable you to get on the stage, on the platform, whatever it might be, to actually start doing these talks.
I think it would be good to, if there's anyone who's done talks before or who sort of arranges talks, who could say some ways that they've sort of written them, or some ideas that other speakers have, or some ideas for events where these talks might fit in well. It's quite hard because I don't really know, I've put it off for so long, I don't even know what the first step is. So I feel like I'm in a bit of a chicken and an egg, in that I don't want to go to events and say I've got a talk for you until I've written the talk, but I don't have a talk until I've got an event to write a talk for. And so I'm just going around in a circle of not doing anything.
Yeah, well, I think you've taken one of the first steps by actually being brave and coming on here and saying, this is what I want to do, because you've committed now. And so other people are going to be like, are you doing that thing yet? And you can't go, oh, no, haven't got around to it, because people will be like, come on, but we heard you say you really wanted to do it. So I wonder if you could tell us a bit about, how this imposter syndrome you feel, what impact does that actually have on you in real terms? What are you feeling inside there?
Just a lot of questions about when I actually start to think about, like, okay, so if I was going to write a talk for this group of people, I'd start to think about, like, what qualifies me to talk to them? What actual knowledge do I have? And then as soon as I start to say that, it's just a lot of self-doubt, and then a lot of reasons to not do it, and it's sort of then it all goes grey, and then I find a really, really interesting bit of washing up that needs doing, and a lot of avoidance.
So there's some self-sabotage there as well. Yeah,
I'd say so. Okay,
well, I mean, anybody watching this and listening to you knows that you would be an absolutely ace speaker. So that's not in doubt. So it's just a question of just taking that final step, isn't it? Like, you're 99% of the way there, it feels like. Just need to get over that last hurdle.
Yeah, just not done it. And it's still just on my to-do list year after year as a thing that I might want to do. Yeah.
Well, hopefully after lockdown, there will be plenty of events back on that you'll be able to speak at, and even online ones as well, potentially. If you're watching this at home and you're thinking, I've got this kind of event that she could speak at, or you've gone through this yourself, whatever it might be, these are the 3 ways you can get in touch. You can leave a message on the Facebook Live video you're watching, or on YouTube. You can join us in this broadcast by clicking on the link that's accompanying this video, or you can send a message on WhatsApp at the number that's about to scroll across the bottom of your screen. Okay, so let's go to Andy now, and let's see if he's captured all that info for you. Andy.
Hello, Frankie.
Hello, hi.
Hi, thank you for joining us. It's been a joy listening to you chatting and telling us what your ambition is. And hopefully I have done it some justice with this ambition calling card. Are you okay for me to run through it with you?
absolutely. Yes, please do.
Well, I've started writing that you would like to start public speaking, but then I heard you tell us that you already do speaking in public. So I've added the phrase more and better. And as I hear it, there's also something else in there, which is discrete and specific events that you'd like to be speaking at. It's a nice long-term ambition that you've been having a while. And thank you for sharing that. Now, you also candidly told us that you feel some kind of block, but you're not quite sure what that might be. It might be about confidence. It might be about structure. It may be about something else. It may be about other. And I'm really glad you shared with us the possibility that it may be influenced by imposter syndrome. And that you may not be surprised to hear is really common. Something like 61% of adults experience it to some degree. It's very common. And unfortunately, of that 61%, I think it's something like 2 in 5, 40, who experience it to the point where it stops them doing things. So part of your question, I think, is about what might bring you around to be able to do that thing, to be able to overcome what you clearly, what people are saying to you. Yes, you're capable of doing this, but there's something inside, there's some internal dialogue or something going on there. That's really interesting. I really appreciate you sharing that, and I can happy to say all the world is a mirror, Frankie. You're not on your own there. Let's see. So in terms of the help you're looking for, more tips, advice, help, and insight into how to improve. Given what you said, that candidness about that there is something going on internally that might be getting in the way there. So it may be mentoring, it may be, and this is a lovely thing you said, how do you start? Those types of questions, I celebrate that. When someone comes on and says, my idea is rocking this world, I don't know how to start. That's a brilliant question, and we're more than happy to have that, as well as those people who are lucky enough to have gone their journey to be able to say, I need something specific. Here, we're talking about something general. It's the insight. It's the kind of what might be happening, what tips and advice, what ways round, and so on. Does that sum it up, really?
Yeah, absolutely, it does, definitely. And that how to start is a really big one. And if there's anyone who's done any speaking or who's starting to do the same process and who maybe might have an idea about how they've started or how they're trying to start, then that would be really helpful.
Sounds good. Sounds really good. Okay, I'm going to play around with the cameras now. This is the bit where my face suddenly emerges center of the screen, which I'm hoping is not too much of a shock. There you go, self-effacing as always. And I'm going to take your ambition and I'm going to place it, if I may. Here we go. Up in central on the wall of ambitions. And here, as you know, because you probably may have heard, but I'm going to share it just in case some people have joined us. Our wall of ambitions is normally outdoors in a public space, well attended with plenty of snacks, often donated to us by the fantastic co-op. And people are invited to have little browse of these ambitions, and they do. There's something quite curious, and we get quite excited about what motivates people and so on. So we often see people just having a good read, and that reading can cause a certain sort of inspiration, which is why we leave lots and lots of post-its around and plenty of pens. Sadly, as you know, we can't do that. So I stand ready. I stand ready with my board of post-it notes, my fistful of hedgehog-like coloured pens, ready to scribe as best I possibly can any type of comment that people make. And generally speaking, we tend to get 3 types of comments. People who may say encouraging words, who may have some tips and advice, or may know something that possibly you don't. I've been there, I've tried this, that really worked for me, or something like that. And those are brilliant. It's very hard to ask for something if we don't know what's out there. So one of the questions that is ubiquitous, lovely word that we ask everybody is there something out there that they may not have thought to ask for? Because that's really useful. And of course, somebody, the second type of commenter, real contacts. There may be somebody out there who is a public speaking coach. We're having chats with a group who do personal public relations, who might have that sort of sense about, they'll be able to advise you on how to present, how to gather, present, and structure that, and give you spaces to practice that, and so on. I'm trying to get them on the show at some point. So there may be, you know, tips and advice from people like that. So being able to say, I know someone who could do that, you know, share it, please share it with Frankie. You know, she gets to choose whether she likes it or not, that sort of thing. And of course, the third type of comment are those people who where this resonates. And I feel sure it will. You know, you may find people out there saying, yeah, I'd like to come on this journey as well, if that's okay. Maybe we can practice together. Maybe we can get our stories and our presentations together. Maybe we can start looking for public venues to speak at together. Who knows? Stuff like that. And we welcome any of those comments. And of course, any comments that I've not spotted, any type of comments that, you know, not mentioned here, words of encouragement, whatever. We'll be more than happy to share that with Frankie. Now, naturally, what I do, because as I said, repetition is our friend, is I'd like to invite Adam to share with everybody how they can possibly get in touch with. It's Adam, hi. Adam, could you possibly share with all our lovely viewers how they can get in touch with us and how they can either contribute comments to these lovely people or maybe even join us here?
Yeah, and we want you to get in touch if you can help Frankie in any way by leaving a message as a comment on the Facebook Live video that you're probably watching right now. Or if you're watching on YouTube via Twitter, then you can leave a comment under the YouTube video and we'll see it and we'll put it up on the screen. Or you can send a message on WhatsApp to the number that's on the bottom of your screen right now, and Agatha will pick that up and pass it on to us. Or you can click on the link that is with this video and you will actually join us. You'll appear at the bottom of my screen here. I'll say a quick hello, and then we'll get you on and you can talk to Frankie yourself if you're really quick. Or maybe you at home, you have your own goal, idea or ambition that you'd like to share. We've still got some minutes left where we can squeeze you in and you can actually share your own thing as well. So brilliant. Thank you, Andy. And let's bring in Alice, because Frankie, I don't know how long you've been with us this evening on the online event here, but you will have probably learned that Alice would love to chip in with some wisdom on this kind of subject in particular. Is that right, Alice?
That's right. I've always got something to say. Hi, Frankie.
Hello.
I was like, as soon as you started talking, I've literally been like wiggling in my seat, like, I have so much to say. Just that I went through exactly what you have been through. I in my old job, I did a lot of training, talking about social media, talking about marketing, totally in my comfort zone. And you know, sort of had the backing of the company when I was doing the talking, and it didn't faze me at all. And then when I went freelance and started my own business just over 3 years ago, I really wanted to start doing public speaking. And I was like, I just don't know where to start. So I just want to start by saying you've done the exact right thing by putting it out there, which is how I started. I put it out there that it's what I wanted to do. And it was around that time I started BelongCon. So I just started my own event. So that's something you can do. And I also want to say, I'd love to have you talk at BelongCon. So consider that your first gig if you're up for it once we can get going again. So ambition fulfilled partly. And just once you know what you were saying about not wanting to go to events without a talk written, don't worry about that. That's what I did. I was like, can I talk at your event? And people were like, great. And I was like, fantastic. How about I talk about this? And they're like, yeah, fantastic. And then honestly, once you start doing it, because these days pretty much all events are filmed, it goes on YouTube, it goes on Facebook, people will start to see you talk. And I think I approached the first event and asked. And then after that, I just got people saying, I saw you speak at this event. Can you come and speak at mine? I saw you speak at this event. Can you come and speak at mine? As soon as you start doing it and people see you and they resonate with you, the invitations will just start coming. And at first it's really bloody scary. Like what you were saying about the skydiving, like that is how I felt on my first public speaking when I was standing up and sharing a talk I'd written. I was terrified. I was like shaking like this. I like couldn't hold my notes. I couldn't hold the mic. And I was so scared but then like a couple of minutes on stage and like the audience start to laugh and you start to kind of, you know, relax into it, it's fantastic. And then after if you just keep doing it, after a few times, the nerves just start to go because your body gets used to it and you're like, okay, I know this. And I'm confident in myself. So that, you know, that would be my advice. Just go for it. Do one, and then the confidence just builds from there.
Thank you so much. That's so helpful. I don't even know where to start. You've answered like so many of the questions I find out. Thank you so much.
And in terms of writing your talk, I mean, my process, I don't know if this is different, but I just sit and write because I'm a writer. So I will write 2 or 3 pages of stuff and then I'll read through it and then I'll edit it. And then I'll bring out the key points on like record cards. And then I just practice it 2 or 3 times. I don't over practice because it's so much better when you're authentic and when, you know, you seem like, to me, such a confident person to just be able to come on video and talk. Like, I wouldn't say you need to meticulously plan your talk out. Like, trust yourself that you will open your mouth and the right thing will come out.
Thank
and
you.
If not, what's the worst that can happen?
And if not, who cares?
Frankie, how does it feel to have your first speaking gig officially lined up?
Amazing. Yeah, really amazing.
Did you think you were going to get that out this evening? So you were talking before about this propensity to self-sabotage sometimes as a result of this imposter syndrome. Now this has happened. How do you think you're going to process that?
I mean, there are 2 sides of me right now where there's half of me that's like, yeah, I've got this cool thing. And then the other half of my brain is already like, what on earth am I going to talk about? I don't have anything to talk about. Who knows? Who is it? Who wants to listen to what I've got to talk about? So I feel like I've still got to like take a little bit of time to quieten that side down.
Yeah. And I think as well, like, it's imposter syndrome is a weird one because the more successful you get and the more knowledge you gain, the worse your imposter syndrome gets. It doesn't work the other way around.
Is that what you find? Seriously?
Yeah. The bigger the steps I take, the more that voice is like, what the hell are you doing? But it's, you know, you've just got to realize that that's not you and that's not a voice. All that is your brain trying to keep you safe because it perceives you're taking a really big step. And, you know, in terms of like you thinking, oh, you know, what you said about, you know, what qualifies me, like to talk about this, the fact that you've experienced it is what qualifies you. You know, if you are standing up and sharing your story and sharing your experience, you are the only person who's had that experience and you have experienced it in a completely unique way. And that story is yours to own and share, nobody else's. And that's what qualifies you, your story, your own unique story. And that's what people want to hear.
I'm going to try and remember that to like write it down so that I can like tell it to myself again and again as I'm going through.
Well, the good news is you don't have to trust your memory if you're worried about that, because you will be able to actually look at this video back. So this is a Facebook Live and on YouTube, so you can watch it back and you can listen to this and watch this brilliant moment again when you got your first gig.
Yeah.
Terrific. Well, thank you so much, Frankie, for coming on and sharing that.
Much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and amazing, Alice. I mean, as well, just to say that for a first gig, if there is that, you know, obviously first gig nervousness, then I don't think you could ask for a better audience than the BelongCon audience, because no one is going to be more accepting and embracing of you and being on your side than the BelongCon audience, I would imagine.
100%. And so many of our speakers, that has been their first public speaking gig. You know, we don't invite professional, polished public speakers. We invite people who have stories to share and who want to share them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for that opportunity.
Pleasure.
Incredible. Right. Thank you so much, Frankie. We'll stay in touch. And Alice will be back in touch in a little bit at the end of the show.
See you in a bit.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay. Andy, we've got 15 minutes before our online event this evening ends. And so we can do two things. One thing that we definitely will do is we are going to go to some written ambitions that we have.
Okay.
And then also, if you at home are watching this and you're going, oh, 15 minutes left, I've got this goal or idea or ambition, then this is your opportunity right now. You can click on the link that is with this video on Facebook Live or on YouTube, and you'll actually join us here in this video broadcast, and you can get support from the community as well. That invitation will go out for them to offer you any kind of information, contacts, advice, or any kind of other support. So, Andy, are we ready to go for a written ambition that's coming?
Yep, I have my trusted ambition calling cards and my fistful of coloured pens, and I'm ready to do my very best handwriting.
Okay, so this one is from somebody called Danny.
Hello,
and
Danny.
Danny has said, I want to do a COVID-19 photo project. So he's a photographer, and he says he wants to photograph people who have started doing something new during lockdown. So new skills, hobbies, or just a general change in how you're spending your time. And so he's given some examples like learning a musical instrument, exercising in the living room, or taking up hula hooping or knitting. I wonder if anybody at home has taken up any of those things. He says his own example is that he started doing jigsaws to pass the time. I'm trying to think, what on earth have I done that's new during this lockdown? To be honest, I've just been working all the time, so I've not done anything for leisure. But
I know something you've been doing that's new.
We've started doing online events. I think
that's it.
That's what we've done.
Yeah.
Anyway, so back to Danny. In terms of what would help him with this, well, he wants anybody in Brighton and Hove to reach out to him if they've started doing something new. Simple. Because he would like to take some photos of you doing that new hobby or whatever it is that you're doing that's new for a photo project about COVID-19. So that sounds a pretty cool thing to do. So if you're out there and you're thinking, yeah, I've started doing indoor trampoline, I don't know, I'm just really bad example, then you can get in touch with us and we will connect with Danny so that he can get in touch with you. So have you managed to get that one down, Andy?
I think so. Just last moments of scribbling. I'm going to say it back to you because we'll get you to check it. Danny, hi Danny, who wants to do a COVID-19 photo project focused on people doing new things, the response we've had to being in lockdown. And his examples include music, knitting, anything really, something unusual or not unusual that is new to you. That's my understanding of it. And the call for help really is very simple. It's if you started doing something new and you're in Brighton and Hove and you are happy being photographed, please get in touch, be a part of his project. In many ways, this could be a very lovely living document that helps inform us on how we've responded to this. Can I put this on the wall?
Please do.
I will be happy to do so. Danny, your ambition calling card is refusing to go up on the wall, mainly because I'm trying to do it with one hand. Here we go. It's up on the wall, and I stand ready as always with my post-it notes, my pens, ready to scribe comments that come in that might be useful. And of course, not just you. If it's you who's doing something new, fine, but maybe you'd like to nominate somebody and also invite them to have a little bit of social contact that will come with this as well.
So if you're watching and you're going, yes, I've started doing something new, these are the 3 ways you can get in touch. Now, I have said this for the last hour and a half or something, but there are people joining us all the time. So you can leave a comment on the Facebook Live video that you're watching. You can click on the link that you'll see next to this video, and it will lead you straight into this video broadcast. You'll go into a backstage area, as it's called, and then we'll bring you in. Or you can contact Agatha on WhatsApp on the telephone number that is about to scroll across the bottom of your screen. So we've got,
there it is.
There it is. So we've got another couple of written ambitions that we have time for. So, Andy, pen at the ready.
Yes.
Now, this is a chap called Adnan. So that's spelled A-D-N-A-N.
A-D-N-A-N. Adnan.
And Adnan says he wants to get food to the staff at Brighton General Hospital's intensive care unit. Now, he and some friends have been preparing and collecting meals. And so basically, he'd like to keep on doing that because, of course, it's a daily task. It's something that happens, thankfully, on a regular basis, because we had I think it was Shabek last week, who was doing the same thing. He was trying to get more people to donate food so that he could take it to the hospital. So Adnan similarly is trying to get food to the Brighton General Hospital's intensive care unit. And so what he's asking for is if people would actually make batches of food so that they can coordinate with him and he can get it to the NHS staff in the ICU. So if you can cook and you can make a batch of food, then we will connect you with Adnan. So leave a comment on the Facebook Live video you're watching now or on YouTube, or send a message to Agatha. We'll make sure that you get connected with Adnan so he can actually take your food safely to the ICU unit. Or if you want to do something to help, but you're not a good cook or you don't have time to cook, completely sympathize with that. You can donate rice and other ingredients and they'd gratefully receive that as well. So you might want to connect with him to check about the different ingredients or the correct ingredients that they need. So again, just get in touch with us and we'll connect you to Adnan. Andy.
Here we go. The very last words are going down, and I've managed to scribble that as best I can. Adnan wants to get food to the staff of the Brighton General Hospital Intensive Care Unit, and he wants to do so safely, and he has been doing so, but wants to continue doing so regularly. And of course, those people who are pulling really long shifts and so on, it's not just the feeding, it's also that touch of care, that recognition that they're there, and our appreciation. So I can understand the motivation behind what Adnan's doing. And the help he's calling for, of course, are people to actually make food so that he can bring more food into those units. Of course, if you're not very into cooking or you're limited on time or stuff like that, then donations of ingredients and will help set up that connection so you know what sort of ingredients are needed. Great, thank you very much, Adam. I'm happily putting this up on the wall of ambitions. Here we go, and I look forward to anyone who has any comments in there. It may be that you'd like to do something similar for a different department or a different unit. Adnan, if you are able to, it'd be nice to know your personal connection to the ICU in the way that a lot of these ambitions often come from a place of personal connection, of passion. And that's an important part of being human. We'd love to hear that story, and we'd love to share that story if that's okay with you, because I'm sure it'll be inspirational to others.
There was somebody I was talking to actually, probably about 5 weeks ago now, a lady who herself had her life saved by the staff there.
Yeah.
And so what she'd taken to doing at the start of this outbreak was actually getting on her phone, going on the food apps, Just Eat and Uber Eats and all that kind of thing, and just sending food directly to the staff, which I thought was a really clever idea. So she was ordering pizzas and getting them sent straight to the hospital, which they really appreciated. I mean, who wouldn't, really? I just thought that was a really nice idea. And so actually it inspired me to do the same for my local hospital, which right now isn't Brighton General Hospital. They phoned me up afterwards and actually said, we've just asked for your phone number from the delivery person just to say thank you. It's really appreciated from all of the staff here. So, you know, it really does make a difference. You might not see it yourself because you're obviously not there in the hospital, but when the staff realize that there are people out there that care and want to support them, then from my experience, it really does have an impact. So let's go to one last written ambition that we have.
Written ambition for this evening, yes.
And this is from Michelle. And Michelle has said she's the deputy manager of St Christopher's Rest Home in Rutland Gardens. And so this is her goal. Her goal is to help the lonely residents of her home feel more loved. And she says some of them don't have family or they haven't seen them in a long time. So that's what she wants to do. She wants to give more love to the lonely people in her home. So what would help her achieve that is if people would write them letters. She says, I would love people out there to write them letters because it would give them so much joy. And this could be something that could be an activity to do with children, perhaps, who are a bit bored and restless at the moment. Just a simple letter, card, whatever you fancy, be creative. Michelle's saying, if you could send it to St. Christopher's Rest Home, Rutland Gardens, then it will make the day of some of the residents there who haven't seen their family in a long time, or indeed don't have any family that can go and visit them. So yeah, I'm actually feeling tempted to do that myself. It sounds a really lovely idea that Michelle shared. You managed to get that one down, Andy?
You spoke very quickly, so I'm behind a little. But I remind you, if I may, of the wonderful Tony Finnemore and the Social Society who are running a very interesting project that's quite similar to this in certain ways. It'd be nice, and I think we'll do it if we can, to connect St. Christopher's Care Home with Tony as well, because some of her people are putting together written messages to support, just to be in touch with lonely people, people who don't have the family contacts and so on, and be able to share a little bit of human contact, especially as we can't get out at the moment. Okay, let's see what we've got.
I was just going to say, while you get the last few words down there, we've actually had some messages coming through on WhatsApp. And it's from Helen, who we were speaking to at the very start of this online event. So I've not actually read this through. So,
ooh, dangerous.
See how we get on. Well, I'm sure she's not been swearing.
Whilst you do that, I'm going to insist that you read it through to yourself. I should just reiterate what Michelle has said, which is that Michelle, who is a deputy manager at St. Christopher's Care Home, Rutland Gardens, thank you for getting in touch, Michelle, would like to help the more lonely residents in the home have some love and contact, and it's a lovely thing to ask for. Please send in letters, cards for her to share, especially if you're have some time yourself, some lovely little stories. Maybe it's a project for your children to do. Start a correspondence. There we go. I'd like to put that on the board, if I may. And I'm sorry for interrupting you, Adam, earlier on, but I thought it's sensible that you do read things before you read them out loud.
Well, I did have a quick glance to just make sure that it was something to be broadcast, and it is. So Helen says, hi, Helen.
Hey,
hi, Helen. So she doesn't say hi, Helen. She's Helen. She says, hi, Helen here again. Also wanted to say I'm doing this. And so she sent us a link to a crowdfunder page, which is all about info and well-being for the frontline staff. And Helen says that she's been a nurse for 32 years herself. And she says this is a great way to support the frontline staff. And she says they've got a conference coming this month for well-being for healthcare staff. And she's also supporting the spread of practical hints and tips and support between clinical groups via online methods as well. So this sounds like a whole new ambition on top of what she already wants to do, that it would be really good to actually hear about in a future show. So Helen, I'm sure you're still with us if you're still sending us messages. So yeah, if you'd like to come on and actually share that goal in one of our future shows, then we'd love to hear about it, because it sounds like it's something that's extremely valuable. So yeah, thank you, Helen. So we've reached the end of our online broadcast. So let's bring in Alice, who's the founder of BelongCon, our event partner from this evening, to say a final few words. And there's plenty coming up for BelongCon, isn't there?
Yes, there is indeed. So yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on the show tonight, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure and I've really enjoyed it. And you two are just great. You're fantastic.
Thank you. You too.
So yes, our next online Belong conversation is on Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. And whereas our normal face-to-face events are speakers standing up and sharing their stories to a room of people, we're structuring our online events a lot more like a conversation. So it's an opportunity for people to come and share what they need support with, what they're dealing with. And we've got a panel of 3 fantastic coaches who are going to be on hand to offer their support, and that their specialisms are self-confidence, resilience, courage. So, you know, anything that you just need need some words of wisdom or help with, or that you're struggling with, this is an opportunity to come and have a conversation with an incredibly supportive community and access some fantastic advice and support.
Can't wait for that. What was the date again, and where do we go?
So it is this coming Tuesday, the 12th of May at 7 p.m. And you'll find links to book on all of our social channels at BelongCon or on BelongCon.com. If you go to upcoming events, there's a link there. Or if you search Eventbrite for BelongCon, our future events will all come up there.
Thank you so much, Alice, for partnering with us tonight, and also for the help that you've sprinkled throughout this online event, and especially topping it off with Frankie at the end there, actually giving her her first gig, helping her achieve her ambition that she wanted to express. So
yeah,
we couldn't have asked for more.
Really happy to be able to do that. Like what the kind of stuff she wants to talk about, you know, her personal experience and what she's learned is what BelongCon's all about. So that's perfect.
All right, that's fantastic. We've really enjoyed having you on, and hopefully we can do this again soon, but in person.
Oh yes.
Yes, that would be amazing.
I'd love to.
Yeah. Any final words from you, Andy?
No, really, just thank you, everybody. Remember, it's okay to not be okay, and come and join us whenever.
Yeah. And if you are watching and you're going, damn it, I wish I'd got in touch with my own goal, idea, or ambition, there are still chances. We're going to be doing these every Friday, almost every Friday.
Almost.
And so we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. So go to our Facebook page, and you can just send us a message and we'll book you in for one of the future online events. Thank you, everybody. It's a goodbye from us. And we'll